Hello everyone. The story I'm going to share today is the story of Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu, also known as Lao, is the founder of Taoism and a famous philosopher and thinker. He left the world the eternal work of Dao De Jing. In 571 BC, Lao Tzu was born in Chu State of Eastern Zhou Dynasty. His father, Lao Zuo, was military commander in the Chen State. In the summer of 573 BC, Chu's soldiers attacked Chen State, and Lao Zuo personally led the troops to the battlefield. Unfortunately, he was killed by an arrow shot, and immediately all the soldiers dispersed. Lao Tzu's mother and two maids escaped on the way to the capital of Chen State. Just as they arrived at the border of Chen State, the mother suddenly felt severe abdominal pain. It turned out that she was pregnant. Due to the bumps on the road, soon Lao Tzu was born in a caravan. According to legend, Lao Tzu was underweight when he was born, but had a big head, thick eyebrows, and two big ears. His two eyes were bright and clear. Because his ears were big, people gradually called him Li'er, or means ear. When Lao Tzu was a little boy, he was incredibly smart and enjoyed contemplation. He frequently nagged family generals for information on the ups and downs of the nation, success or failure of the wars, and astronomical observations. His mother invited a teacher named Shangrong to teach him. Shangrong was knowledgeable in rituals and music of Shang Dynasty, as well as an expert in both geography and astronomy. Thus, the whole family showed deep respect to him. Unlike other students, Lao Tzu's curiosity made him constantly asking questions in class. Some were not even mentioned in history book. Mr. Shang once said in his lecture to Lao Tzu, "Between heaven and earth, people are the most valuable, and the king is the most important among all people." Lao Tzu asked, "What is heaven?" Mr. Shang said, "Heaven is the spotless realm above people." Lao Tzu asked again, "What is spotless realm?" Mr. Shang said, "A spotless realm is a space." Lao Tzu was not satisfied and asked again, "What is about the space?" Mr. Shang said, "The sages haven't passed it on. The ancient books have not been recorded, and I dare not guess it incorrectly." From then on, Lao Tzu often stared at the sky at night and kept thinking about the unanswered question. Another time, when Mr. Shang gave a lecture, he said, "Heaven, earth, humans, and other things coexist in the universe. Heaven has its own way, just as the world has its own geography. Human beings have human relations, and things have physical characteristics. The sun, moon, and the stars are able to move because of the path of heaven. There is geography, so mountains, rivers, and seas can be formed. There are human relations, so high class, low class, old and young can all be classified. Things have physical characteristics, so the length and hard and brittle can be distinguished." Upon hearing this, Lao Tzu asked, "Who controls the movement of the sun, moon, and stars in the sky? Who created mountains and rivers? Who divided the seniority of the human status? Who decides the length and the size of things, the weight and the color of the things?" Mr. Shang said, "Everything is done by God." Lao Tzu asked, "How is it possible for God to perform such miracles?" Mr. Shang said, "God can do these things because of his superpowers." Lao Tzu asked again, "Where does God's superpower come from?" Mr. Shang could not explain and just gave the same answer as before. With this unanswered question in mind, Lao Tzu did not have any sense of taste for food for 3 days. Another time, Mr. Shang said, "Harmony is the most important in the world. If there's no peace, there will be a war. If there's a war, both parties will suffer. It won't do any good, but will simply be detrimental for both parties. Therefore, helping others will also assist yourself, and hurting others will also make yourself being hurt." Lao Tzu asked, "Why does the king not care when there is fighting in the world and people are suffering?" Mr. Shang said, "When people disagree with one another, there will be fighting in local area, which causes small calamities, so that the king can handle it. When there is a conflict between nations, however, peace will be broken and the war will start. It will constantly result in a severe catastrophe for the countries involved. All wars are the king's fault, and then how could the kings manage their own countries? Why does God not care that the king cannot run the country well?" Lao Tzu asked. Again, Mr. Shang gave the same answer as he did before. After 3 years of instructing Lao Tzu, Mr. Shang said to Lao Tzu's mother, "My knowledge is quite limited. Your boy is far too intelligent. I've been teaching him everything I know for 3 years. Now I came here today to say goodbye to you. Your son has high ambitions, and I suggest you send him to the capital of Chu State, where there's a gathering of knowledgeable and virtuous people. If he wants to achieve great course in the future, you must send him to the school there." Later, Lao Tzu took classes with a doctor of the Imperial College of Chu State. A few years later, the teacher recommended Lao Tzu to be the official of royal archives in Chu State. Years later, Mr. Shang was sick, and Lao Tzu came to visit him. Mr. Shang pointed to his open mouth and asked him, "Is my tongue still there?" When Lao Tzu heard the question, he felt very strange. He replied, "If your tongue isn't there, how can you speak?" "Where are my teeth?" Mr. Shang continued to ask. Lao Tzu told him that he had no teeth left. Mr. Shang responded with asking, "Do you know why I ask you this?" Lao Tzu suddenly understood. His teacher wanted him to understand that teeth were hard and strong. But hard things were easy to break, and the tongue is soft and supple, and lasts longer. Lao Tzu realized that this principle applied to all world affairs. He had enlightened that in dealing with people and things in the world, one must maintain softness. To be soft means to be weak, delicate, quiet, and peaceful. This allows one to be magnanimous, generous, and forgiving. In Dao De Jing, Lao Tzu wrote, "Under heaven, nothing is softer and more yielding than water. Yet, for attacking the solid and strong, nothing is better. It has no equal. The weak can overcome the strong. The supple can overcome the stiff." Under heaven, everyone knows this, yet no one put it into practice. Therefore, the sage says, "He who takes upon himself the humiliation of the people is fit to rule them. He who takes upon himself the nation's disasters deserves to be king of the universe." The truth often seems paradoxical. Although his teacher taught him the etiquette of the Zhou Dynasty and stressed humility, Lao Tzu enlightened to something higher. The Tao can trickle into human body like stream and provide moral guidance. In 485 BC, Lao Tzu saw the decline of Zhou Dynasty, resigned from his position as the official of royal archives, and got ready to cross the Hangu checkpoint on his way to the west. Lao Tzu knew that the commander in charge of checkpoint, Yin Shi, was destined to acquire the Tao. Lao Tzu spoke 5,000 words, which Yin Xu wrote down in the book named Dao De Jing. Following Lao Tzu's teachings, Yin Xu eventually became an immortal. Later, Lao Zuo was recognized by all cultivators as a master. According to historical records, Lao Tzu was finally flying to heaven in daytime in Yellow Mountain of Lintao, which means he was flying to heaven and becoming immortal after cultivating the Tao. To commemorate this great, amazing historical event, later generations built a flying platform in Yellow Mountain. With the highest respect, until today, many people are still going to visit the platform every day. Thank you very much for listening to the story. More touching stories will be ready for you if just subscribing. Thank you again.